Just sit back and relax, kid. Lean back in your fat wheel. The flow is just so classic, like old school NBA, it's fantastic. Just sit back and relax, kid. Lean back in your fat wheel. The flow is just so classic, like old school NBA, it's fantastic. Like MJ, I'm the baddest. You can grab this fact in the box when I am at it. And every time that you open a package, call it ESPN, it's an instant classic. Museums the size of the Coliseum should hold my rhymes so my fans can see them. Sick of them seeing, call me White Top, cause I'm so dope. I'm so fly, I told you the flow can make it float. Blue magic, I do magic like witches brew magic. Every time I get on Pro Tools, you bastards. Not LL, but ladies love them, wanna rub them and hug them, cause the flow is so above them. Other fake cats can't take that track. Bring the heat like Wade Cat.
All right, welcome back. We are live. Wealthy Thought Show. What's up, Tracy?
Hello, hello. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. As you guys can see, we don't have a guest this week again. We'll get some more guests on here soon, but that doesn't stop the show from going. Today we just want to basically talk about the business aspects of some things that have been going down in the Black community over the last week. And that one big thing was Deion Sanders leaving Jackson State and going to Colorado.
Big news.
Big news. Yeah, it was big news. I have a couple different mixed feelings about it, but I mean, overall, he did a great thing at Jackson State, and nobody could take that away from him.
So you're in your feelings about it, and understandably so. I mean, as an African American, as sports fan of Deion Sanders. So, what are your thoughts about it?
So, I mean, first off, let's go with what he did great, and the light that he shed on that he shined on the HBCU football programs and stuff like that. I mean, just that one man and his charisma, and he used that to get the first 5-star athlete recruit to Jackson State. That was the first 5-star athlete to ever go to an HBCU. And so that was a big thing. ESPN signed a 10-year contract with HBCUs to play the football games on ESPN networks. That was pretty big.
That was a big deal.
And I think overall the things that he said he would do, I mean, in those 3 years, I think he did that and possibly more. Eddie George, I don't know if Eddie George would have went to Tennessee State if not, or if he was there. I mean, if he was there, he wasn't making that much of a light on it because he doesn't have the charisma or the notoriety that Deion Sanders has. But what I did see was it seemed as though the Black community was coming together to do more for the HBCUs and stuff since Deion got there. I wish he would have stayed a little longer. I didn't think at all he would, stay there for 30 something years.
Right.
Like that. I just didn't think he would be that, like the coach of Grambling. I can't think of his name right now, the old coach of Grambling. I didn't think he would be that type of coach. But I did think that he probably would stay around 5-10 years. And I wasn't even sure that he was going to move to not Colorado, but just a PWI in general. I didn't think he would make that move. I thought that was his whole thing. If he did make that move, I thought it would be Florida State, his alma mater where he went.
Okay.
So those are the good things I think he did. So to be in my feelings, I do feel like, or to be in, not really in my feelings, because like I said, I'm not mad at the man or anything like that. I know a lot of people in the Black community are mad. I saw some videos where Jackson State, the last game, they was playing this old blues song about if you don't want to be here, you can leave. And so that was pretty funny. I could see it from both sides that you saw the change that was happening, but but I can also see from his side that he had an opportunity. And then with the light of certain things that started coming out in the last, couple of days, you might can understand why he might have said, you know what, it was time, this opportunity has come, it's time to go.
So what were the things that came out?
Well, some things came out about misappropriation of funds, mishandling of funds. And then some other things came out about how Jackson State president, they had a chance to get a TV show for him, and that TV show would have brought in some revenue to the team, which probably would have helped him pay his staff. That was a big problem. I think they were going to get some type of $1 million endowment from something, or he was going to get like $1 million. They were just going to give him like $1 million raise, but then they wanted him to pay his staff with that $1 million raise.
How does that work?
Which is, that don't work at all.
Well, I mean, when you think about, listen, I mean, and I'll let you finish. I won't.
No, I'm just saying, with a football team, you got so much staff with a football team.
It's a business. Sports is a business.
You're talking about 60 something players, and so you need a big staff to take care of those players, and so that's just asinine to think that you gonna give him $1 million and then he gonna be able to pay a whole staff or give them extra money through that $1 million. So you're really not paying him, you're really paying the staff.
So you want him to be coach and you want him to be the payroll department and
that was another thing that came out, was that he funded a lot of things that he asked for that they couldn't pull off. He found the funding, or he funded it himself, as far as renovating locker rooms and meal preps and getting better transportation. Some of that stuff he helped with himself with his own money. And so when you start thinking about those type of things, like I said, no one can take away from the fact that he did good work there. He did good work.
He did great work, and I think that he should be commended for the work that he did do. Just kind of going back to touch on a couple of points that you mentioned. HBCUs in general, we're talking about historically Black colleges and universities. We as a community need to do more to support these institutions of higher learning if they mean that much to us. If we truly believe that they have a value to the community, to our young people, to us, then we need to invest. We need to put our money where our mouth is. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago when we talked about the election that was happening in Georgia. We kind of touched on that and how candidates, strong, viable candidates, are able to raise monies and they are supported well by their constituency because those folks believe in them. They buy into their message. They donate to those campaigns. And those are the things that help get those candidates elected to those positions. Similarly, when we talk about colleges and universities, larger institutions that do a good job of getting that message out to their alumni are well supported by their alumni, and they donate to those institutions. Those alumni make sure that the needs of those institutions are met and they have the things that they need. Um, for Deion to come in and to work as a coach to elevate that program at Jackson State, to raise their visibility, to be able to recruit top players. He did those things because he believes in that institution and he believes in HBCUs. And I think that we as a community then need to get behind the Deion Sanders and the Eddie Georges and these institutions and own them. We have to wrap our arms around them, but we have to open up our pocketbooks. It cannot just be lip service.
Yeah.
And so, Jackson State also had some other issues that happened there environmentally. They had some type of flood or something that happened, and the community was greatly impacted by that. That created a lot of problems and issues. And so I think that it was just a culmination of a series of events that just kind of brought Deion to a place where, as any man would say, I have to take care of myself. I have to support my family.
Yeah.
So those are the other things that we have to look at. He has a family to support. He has a wife. He has children. He has bills to pay. And so I think that it's unrealistic to have this to have the thought that this man is just going to keep coming to work every day, despite all of these things that are coming out that we know are not right, that need to be handled, that need to be fixed at the school, like immediately, not like 2 weeks from now, but these are things that need an immediate fix and attention. So I think at the end of the day, he had to look at that situation, weigh the pros and the cons, and decided, you know what, I need to make this move. And I'm sure that his wife and his family let him know how they feel. I'm sure that they were committed too, but at the same time, look, Deion Sanders is a brand. He has as with any celebrity as well, because that's the thing also that can be ignored in that, I believe he's married to Tracey Edmonds.
Yeah.
And so there's a lifestyle there that folks are accustomed to. And, those things people may be willing to sacrifice for a little bit or a little while. But at the end of the day, when they're accustomed to having a certain lifestyle and they've been promised certain things, there's an expectation there that you're going to deliver. And I think what happened in this situation is ultimately Jackson State was just not able to sustain that administration was not able to sustain what they promised him. And he had to make a different decision for his best interest. So
yeah,
that's just my thoughts.
So I just thinking about how different things go along in I was wondering with them saying that they had a chance to get like this TV program that would have been like a coach's corner type thing, but they were going to pay a from my understanding, again, I wasn't in the room and I don't know, but from my understanding, they were going to pay a nice amount of money for that program. Why would Jackson State say no? Because a lot of times those programs, again, it brings more notoriety to the school, brings more notoriety to the program. And the more notoriety that goes to a program, the more money that's going to come in. And the thing is that the more money that comes in, then you can, like other schools do, spread that money across the whole school. Because
notoriety and being on television, when you think about it, again, we're talking about this, looking at it from a business lens, Randy, when you think about it from a business perspective, you have to have some things in place. Lawyers have to review agreements. There is more scrutiny that requires transparency on the part of the institution. You have to, it's going to affect your taxes. you have to handle that money appropriately and differently. And so let's think about this. If they already, unbeknownst to Deion, were having issues with the cash flow within the university, if monies already were not being handled appropriately,
Mm-hmm.
this would have just exacerbated a bad situation.
Gotcha.
So it
Gotcha.
ultimately may have been a blessing in disguise. While I'm sure Deion really wanted that to happen,
Mm-hmm.
it may have been a blessing in disguise for him. Hopefully, my hope is that for the students who are currently attending Jackson State and for the players who are there on the team and have enjoyed success under Deion's, tutelage and his coaching, that the baby doesn't go out with the bathwater, that there are some administrative changes that happen, that they get that situation cleaned up at Jackson State so that continues to be a viable institution of higher learning for the folks that are invested in it and who are there now.
Yeah. So one thing I want to talk about, because like I said, I wanted to relate this to the business and things like that. And so like you said, the business of being a celebrity, the business of being a famous person,
Right.
his branding is bar none. I mean, ever since college, probably ever since high school, he named himself Primetime in high school. And so, I mean, his branding is bar none. And so that branding that he did just for himself, um, brought that attention to himself while he was playing football, baseball. And then he
And
was
he
able to,
delivered.
and he
That's
delivered.
the
Yeah, yeah,
thing.
that was the thing. He
He
branded himself
lived
and he
up to
delivered.
that
Yeah.
branding.
Yeah, Neon
You know,
Dion, prime
Neon
time. He
Deion.
lived up to it. He did
Right.
everything. I arguably the best cornerback to ever play the game. In my mind, he is the best cornerback to ever play the game. And then he took that on, and he's been a pretty good coach so far. We'll see what happens in Colorado. I you know I had my when it first happened. Like I said, I couldn't be mad at him. Just because of I respected the things that he did do. What I was a little upset about was he did a lot of talking about how great HBCUs were and how they could be on the same playing field with the other schools if they had the same amount of money. And he did a lot of bigging up HBCUs. And then when he left, to me, it almost was like all that stuff you said. Did you really believe it? That was one thing.
And I think that he believed it, but again,
And
it's
I do too.
tough.
I think he believed it. I just,
It's
I do
tough
too.
when folks betray you.
Yes, it is.
You know,
That betrayal is deep too, because you go into a community with the thought process that you're gonna help to build that community around the school too, and then your car gets broken into. His truck got broken into one day while they was at practice. Um, and then another time when they were playing a game, they broke into the locker room and went straight into his office and stole chains and different stuff from his office. And there becomes a problem with that when you start thinking about, well, where's security at? Where are what are y'all doing to
and that is
protect?
not something that he would have to deal with in a different environment.
Yeah. And that's a
And it's
sad
tough.
thing, because it's our community, and that's a sad thing. And again, that goes to
Yeah.
another, that goes to a little bit further, another little bit further past business. That goes to a street code that we just don't have. There were times back in the day, especially like here in Atlanta, Clark, Atlanta, most HBCUs are in the hood.
Mm.
I remember going to Jackson State when Michael was playing AAU ball. I remember we had to drive there for one of his, a couple of his games, and going to Jackson State. And I remember that it was in the hood. Clark Atlanta used to be, basically in the hood and the area, even though they're gentrifying the area and is cleaning the area up a little bit. It's still basically, some of the lower income element that's there. And so when you start talking about that, I just remember those people that were my age and my generation that went to Clark, and how they talked about, the people in the neighborhood was like, hey, don't mess with the college students. You know what I'm saying? If the college students ain't messing with you, don't mess with them.
Right.
Leave them alone. There was a code, there was a street code that we have gone away from, which is a whole nother thing. That's not business, but it's still a street code, or like some type of ethics that we just don't have anymore, that we need to really think about going back to. I also, I'm very interested in what will happen in Colorado. I already see that he's getting, I think he got like 2 or 3 5-star recruits that's looking to go to Colorado already. I think he's already stolen a player from Alabama. Not stolen, but a player's decided to transfer from Alabama to go there. And so he's already making moves for Colorado that he probably wouldn't have been able to make at Jackson State. I know you remember the 5-5 back in the day,
right?
Michigan, Chris Webber, Juwan Howard, Jimmy King, Ray Jackson, and Jalen Rose.
Correct.
And so they all decided, they all got together. They were like top 50 players in the country at the time. And they all decided to get together and decided to go to University of Michigan. But there was a interview maybe 10, 15 years ago where Chris Webber talked about how they actually, before they decided to go to University of Michigan, they actually thought about going to a HBCU and taking their talents to a HBCU, and how big that would have been. But they realized that the HBCU couldn't give them things, even though, they didn't get a lot of stuff at Michigan either, according to, the trouble that they got into at the end of it all, with the boosting and all that stuff. But they really thought about going to a HBCU, and I mean, that would have even been big back then. So that would have been the equivalent of what Deion did himself.
Yeah, I think that, again, this, Deion being at Jackson State, what transpired while he was at Jackson State, and ultimately his move to Colorado, I think is the catalyst, definitely, for more conversation in the community, and for folks to determine, how do we want to support? What does that look like? The business of setting up a structure of financial support, but also of accountability from a business standpoint, to help hold these schools accountable. Because again, when you talk about a sports program, high caliber sports program that's getting national exposure, that requires that you've got a solid business structure in place at that institution in order for that to work.
Yes.
We're talking about millions of dollars coming through that university for endorsements.
Yeah, tens of millions of dollars.
Exactly. Endorsements, not just for the athletes, but also, for coaches potentially, for the university itself. We're talking about licensing and merchandise. There's just so many aspects to the business of, again, sports, college sports. And honestly, I think that Deion's heart was in the right place. I just don't think ultimately the school was ready to meet him where he was and to go where he was taking things. I think you need some different leadership in place. You have to have the right staff in place.
Yeah.
So, I think there's some very important lessons learned here, not just for Jackson State, but for other HBCUs um, that have a thought process about, we want to do that. We want to see that happen on our campus.
Yes. It kind of what you just said kind of makes me think about Mansa Musa. I know you do. I know you know who that is, right?
No, keep
Okay,
going.
so Mansa Musa, sorry, was a African king, who is our what most people say was the richest man to ever live on Earth.
Okay, now I know who you're talking about.
Okay.
Okay, got you. Okay.
So they talking about doing a movie about him and everything. But when you
Right.
said, Deion came to Jackson State and basically he probably overwhelmed them. I think they wanted him to be there, just like back in the day they wanted Mansa Musa to come to their country and stuff. But a lot of times when Mansa Musa would come to the country, he came with so much money that he would basically mess up their economy. That's how much money he was coming with. And how much clout he was coming with, that it would when he left, it would destroy their economy. They would have to start all over again. And
so many
almost
times people want things in
that they're not ready
theory.
for.
Yeah.
And that's it's almost like they wanted him because they knew what he could do, but they just wasn't ready for him. And I think like I said, I think his heart was in the right place. And I think, I looked at his interview that he gave to his students when he left. He said, from everything I can tell, he was he had been open with them the whole time about even going to the interview with Colorado and with the other school that he was looking at. I mean, from a business point of view, not from a business point of view, but from a personal point of view with those students, he let them know as he was walking it, he allowed them to walk it with him. He let them know what was going on and what he was doing. So he was very transparent with them.
And he needed to be, because I think, again, when we talk about integrity and character, you want to have integrity and character when you're someone like Deion Sanders. You don't want to compromise your good name.
Yes.
And damage your brand.
Yeah.
The other piece of that is, as a coach, I'm sure that it broke his heart on some level to have to take those actions that would ultimately lead him away from Jackson State into Colorado. But he had to also, when you think about it, model for his players. They might potentially find themselves in a situation where they have to make a difficult decision that is in their best interest. And he needed to model, how do you do that with character and dignity?
Yes.
Without compromising your brand, but doing the critical thing that you need to do to preserve yourself and to take care of yourself.
Yes.
And so he did that. And so, in my mind, unless there's something that comes out that I'm not aware of, I think that while it was a difficult decision that he had to make, I respect the fact that he made the decision quickly. I think he tried to do it with as little drama as possible.
Yeah.
And, to leave things intact. He wasn't trying to destroy anybody's reputation or drag anybody's good name on the way out. It was what it was.
And from everything I can tell, he's not the one that's come out and said anything about anything that's been going on in Jackson State. It's been other people that has done the digging and start figuring out, okay, this is going on and this is going on. And nobody really has any real proof. But at the end of the day, when he went to Colorado and he gave his first speech to those boys, just as a man, it was, I got excited I got excited for those new kids. Because at the end of the day, it don't matter what football team you go to. I ain't gonna say it don't matter, but if you at a pretty big college, that football team is probably predominantly black, or at least 50% black. And so if not more than that. And so, though he still will be there to help some black kids out, of course, he's going to help every kid out that's there.
Mhm.
But I was excited just to see how he addressed them, and how he was bringing a sense of excellence to what he felt like was a school that had been in mediocrity for a while. I do. My only other thing I think I kind of wish is that he would have held out for a bigger school if he was going to go somewhere. But maybe this is just a stop along the way for him too. He might just, he may just want to be a journeyman. He may want to, fix some things
So,
there and then go somewhere else.
here's the thing I will say is that when I think about it, Deion Sanders, look, this guy has played professional football.
Mm-hmm.
He's played professional baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he understands pretty well the the workings of the NFL,
Mm-hmm.
the professional sports league. From the standpoint of Colorado, there's a lot happening in that state. It's one of the places to be.
Okay.
And so I think for him, he looked at it, and again, this man is married, he's got a wife, he's got a family, so I'm sure they also had some thoughts and some input on that
Oh yeah, no
decision as
doubt.
well. And I have to think that that was a decision that he made after having conversations with his family, and again, just looking at all the pros and cons, ultimately deciding this is the move for me to make.
Now, shed some light on that statement that Colorado was one of the places to be. Now, what's going on in Colorado?
Well, just as a state, there are a lot of young folks with money, people who are looking to invest, that are making those moves to Denver, to Colorado Springs, to
Okay.
Boulder.
Okay.
I had been to Denver for the first time a few years ago when I was working with Head Start, and
Okay.
I
Yeah.
went there for a conference. It was my first time. Um, how you're thinking, oh, it's going to be cold and there's going to be all this snow and all, which it was cold and there was snow. But what was interesting was how well this state functions and how well those city services function, even
Okay.
when there's snow on the ground. Like,
Okay.
their city services are extremely organized.
Okay.
There's no, oh, you're stuck in the house and you can't travel. They get out, they clear those streets. Traffic is moving. The airport, Denver's airport, is one of the largest in the country. They get folks in and out. They're centrally located. So, flying in and out of there is not super expensive depending on where you're going.
Okay.
When I went back earlier this year, because my son has relocated and he moved there, and so it was interesting when he made the decision, he laid out his reasons, and I was like, well, okay. But I mean, he enjoys it. They've got a great art scene, they've got a great music and entertainment scene,
Okay.
they've
Cool.
got a great restaurant scene.
Okay.
It's a fun place to go. I truly enjoyed myself. We went to Boulder, we
So we
hung
got
out.
two of black excellence in Colorado right now. Your son and Deion.
It's a fun town. Deion is going to have a lot of fun.
Good. Good.
In Colorado, and isn't Russell there?
Russell who?
Wilson. Isn't Russell Wilson? Russell Wilson is there now. Isn't he playing for Denver
Oh
Broncos?
yeah. He's not doing that well though.
He's okay. Russell having a little bit of
what I
dry
can tell,
spell.
he's not doing
It's
that well.
okay.
But that's good. I made that statement about black excellence. I'm a segue to something else real quick, because I was looking up some stuff. I'm working on this LP for Michael.
Okay.
Working on it. So I was looking up some speeches, and I was looking up black excellence speeches.
Okay.
And as I was looking up Black excellence speeches, I saw something that, and I'm gonna relate it to all this that we've been talking about too. But I saw something that kind of threw me in it, and I went down a little wormhole where I saw, and these were more younger people, and I would say younger. When I say younger, maybe 25 to 35, 25 to 40,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. So these are younger people than myself, but I wouldn't even say, no, I wouldn't even say 40, 25 to 35. They definitely was young like that, maybe 20 to 30. And they were saying how Black excellence is false and it's fake. And it was interesting to watch it because just to take some of the things that they were saying in it. And it made me think about the difference in this generation. And when I say this generation, I'm not talking about actual generation. I'm talking about this era of time. Um,
Okay.
because I even see a lot of people our age and that have kind of prescribed to this, just to me what is mediocrity.
Okay.
And so what one girl said on there was that she said that Black excellence has, in many ways, in her mind, and I took into account what she was saying. It was in her mind and how she felt about it. And I'll tell you what I think about Black
Okay.
excellence when I hear that word. Um, so in her mind, Black excellence was about the opulence of it, about making money, about living within the white system and doing things as white society would have Black people doing.
Okay.
She felt as though that was not what we should be striving for and things like that. And so, the only reason I say this is because Deion is considered in many circles Black excellence. He is
Okay.
considered, what everything that we were brought up, when we were brought up, be the best, work your hardest to be the best.
Mm-hmm.
In many Black households, it would say it be 10 times better than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so when I hear people going against this thought process of Black excellence, and one of the things she said, she was like, and so it's almost like if you're just a regular person, is something wrong with you, and that shouldn't be. And so I did take account to that, because I mean, I don't prescribe to necessarily be a regular person. You know what I'm saying? I think that I try to strive for excellence in most of the things that I do. If I'm doing something, I try to be, as
Mm-hmm.
good as I can be at it. Um, and so to me, I don't think of excellence in general. I ain't even just gonna say Black excellence. I don't think of excellence in general as just being a rich person. I think money comes along with being excellent. It's a byproduct of it, but that is not what makes you excellent. I think what
Mm-hmm.
makes you excellent is that you are diligent, and you are definite, and you make decisions, and you are driven towards a purpose. And I think that and that purpose is when you work towards that purpose, and you make your purpose happen. I think that's part of what makes you excellent. And when you excel to being one of the tops in your career, profession, or whatever it is you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's just being a mother, when you excel, to me, that's excellence. I don't look at, so when I say Black excellence, is only me saying that the person is a Black person. um I don't separate it. Your excellence is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You got, the Black part of it is just, we're talking about Black people being excellent.
Mm-hmm.
um
Mm-hmm.
but it was just interesting to me to hear. I wish if I find that interview again, I'll send it to you.
Mm-hmm.
But it was very, no, it wasn't even an interview, it was just her talking. And
Mm-hmm.
I just found it very interesting. And again,
Yeah.
she wasn't the only one, because I ended up going down a wormhole of other young Black people, male and female, talking about um how let's fight against Black excellence. Basically, let's change the narrative. and we shouldn't be
I have
striving for black
seen
excellence.
I have seen a YouTube talk, and again, I don't know who this woman was,
Hmm.
but basically espousing something similar. And
Okay.
in essence, just kind of saying that Black excellence is mythical, for
Hmm.
lack of a better word, um, that there are some negatives
Hmm.
there in people trying to achieve Black excellence. For example, and again, this was an African American woman sharing her thoughts. But one of the things that she talked about was she felt that it puts undue pressure and stress on Black women um, to be multi hyphenates, if you will,
Okay.
which is a term that is used a lot now to describe celebrities or folks who do more than one thing and who kind of have their streams of income coming in from a couple different places. And so
Hmm.
they may be a singer and an actor, um, as well as, something else. Um, but in essence, that was one of her criticisms, is that, when we talk about Black excellence, it puts pressure on people that they need to earn a certain income, that they need to have or achieve a certain position
Hmm.
within their community to have influence. And that when you are basically putting that type of pressure on yourself, if things don't happen in a certain time frame, then it can affect your mental health. It can affect your finances and your thought process. So I do understand, a little bit where she was going,
Hmm.
with that.
Hmm.
But also, there's more than one way to look at that when we're talking about Black excellence. And again, that was just kind of her.
That was her. And
her
that was the similar vein that this lady was going down.
okay.
May have been the same interview, I'm not sure, but that was a similar vein she was going down. Did the
Mhm.
lady that you was referring to, did she wear glasses?
I can't remember if she
Okay,
wore glasses or not.
I could have
I
swore the
will
lady I was
see,
talking about wore glasses.
right, if I can find it.
Yeah, when I find mine, I'll send it to you, and you send me what you find.
Yeah,
And I try not to really
yeah,
share anything on the show because of
mhm,
copyright issues, and I don't want no issues with that.
mhm,
I know there's a fair use law and stuff like that,
mhm,
and
mhm.
right now while we're growing, I don't want any problems. So
I get it.
but I just when you say let's go to the mental issue, because I
Mhm,
was just actually watching a video today where it talks about wealth, where it was talking about wealth, and the guy was saying wealth first off starts in your mind, and it
mhm.
starts with your mindset. So um and he related it to health, he related to everything, but he was saying that you have to be wealthy, you have to be healthy in your mind before it manifests itself a lot of times.
Well, I
um
mean, you talk about that in your book,
I do. I do.
you
And
know,
so
so
and I
you
do.
gotta, just to plug that book, and
Yeah.
I would not say shameless plug, but I mean, I did, edit that book.
Yes, you did. And you did a great job.
And the thing is typically, for me, when I'm doing editing, it does not necessarily take me a long time to do it, but I definitely got drawn into your work when I was editing it and reading it, and I was torn because um I almost didn't want to make any edits or changes because I understood, your voice and the voice that you speak to your readers is definitely different, than my voice. You got that urban flair, and just so many of the points that you were making about mindset
Mm-hmm.
and the way that you think.
Mm-hmm.
The first several chapters were really focusing on that piece,
Yeah,
that you
changing your
really have to,
mindset.
yeah, you really have to clean up your thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to get yourself in a place where you are adopting a mindset and a thought process that is going to allow you to move into that space of being
Yeah,
wealthy, and that you have to be thinking
yeah,
wealthy in order to manifest that
yeah.
in your actual life.
And so that's when you said that the girl was talking about mental health and how that can take away your mental health. And in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
if you are doing anything just for money,
Mm-hmm.
then you're doing it for the wrong reason. It always should be for it always anything you do, yes, money will be a
Mm-hmm.
byproduct of it, but it always should be
Mm-hmm.
because you love what you're doing, you enjoy
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing, and it's something that can help someone else,
Right. Right.
or at least service someone else some kind of way. Even if you are a dress designer,
Mm-hmm.
or a clothing designer or whatever, you are servicing other people, and it should service other people. And yes, you should get paid for servicing other people.
Mm-hmm.
And but when I hear people say they mental health and stuff like that, I think this time period that we live in is a time period of, just for lack of better words, it's a lot of soft people around, a lot of soft ass people around, and I feel like a lot of times we hide behind mental health and say
Mm-hmm.
that that's what it is, when literally, when you go to a psychiatrist or you go to someone to talk to a counselor,
Mm-hmm.
um most times those counselors let you sit there and talk, and
Mm-hmm.
they guide you to healing yourself. You're paying them to
Walk
guide
into
you
the
to heal
light.
yourself.
Walk toward the light.
Yeah, you're paying them to help you guide,
Right.
because they listen to you. They
Right.
give you little things to think about. They try to
Right.
guide you in a certain way, but they never really necessarily give you. Um,
Right.
they're, at least a good one doesn't. A good one is never going to necessarily give you the answer. He or she is going to make you find the answer yourself. Because in the end, that's the only way you're going to fix yourself, is if you find the answer yourself. You have to fix yourself.
Yes. Absolutely.
And so when I hear that, I was listening
And this
to.
and those answers, to your point,
Mhm.
are not one size fits all. It is
No,
definitely
no,
something, you have to find those answers yourself, because they
yes,
are custom just for you.
just for you, yeah,
You
and,
have
and,
to
and
believe it, you have to buy into it
yeah, and
in
that's
order
why
to
in the book,
manifest.
when I wrote the book, I tried to make it very universal. I gave some very generic
Mhm,
ways to go about trying to figure it out, but I
mhm,
wanted to make it known that, hey, I don't have all the answers. I have what
mhm,
worked for me, and I have some things that I've seen work for other people. But at
mhm,
the end of the day, the way that it's going to work for you is not going to be. You're not going to get it the same way I got it. You're
mhm,
not going to figure it, but it will, as long as you keep working at it, it will happen. And it just makes me think about an interview where there's a
mhm,
female where she was talking about how she goes to counseling, and the
mhm,
guy that was interviewing her said, "That's good." He was like, that's good. You go to counseling, and when you were done with counseling, what happened? And the lady was like, "I'm not done with counseling yet. I mean, the counseling is an ongoing thing." He was like, "Wait a minute, hold on. You're not supposed to go to counseling and just stay in counseling. Like, they're supposed to help you to fix yourself. They're supposed to help you to fix the situation so you don't have
mhm,
to keep going. Like, yeah, you may have to come back for something else later
mhm,
on down the line,
mhm,
but you shouldn't have an ongoing
mhm,
continuation of just being in counseling forever.
mhm,
That mean that you're not really working at
mhm.
at the problem. That means you're not worried working at fixing the problem. You're
Mm,
just trying to sit in counseling and going somewhere for somebody to talk to.
mhm, mhm,
And I see that a lot in this generation where I just, and again, when I say generation, I'm not talking about
mhm,
Generation X, Generation Z, the millennials and stuff like that. I'm talking about
mhm,
this time period, this era of time. Because like I said, I see people older than me
mhm,
do this, and I see people younger than me do this. This is
mhm,
just the era of time that I'm talking about.
mhm,
Um,
mhm,
where it just seems like everybody is on this kick
mhm,
of to me, in my mind,
mhm,
to me it's a kick of
mhm,
not wanting to be accountable and not want to take lead of their own souls.
mhm,
I mean, don't get me wrong, God is in control of, I believe in God, so God is in control of your soul, but
mhm,
he leaves you that leeway to take that
mhm,
leadership to,
mhm.
to to get yourself together. God don't make you do anything. And so in my mind, God don't make you do anything. You make a decision. And I feel like a lot of people are making decisions to not work towards being the best they can be, not work towards healing, not work towards it's almost like everybody want to be a victim.
Well, to your point, God has given us free will.
Hmm.
He has given us free will and the the power and the ability to choose and make choices. And so, you have to want to choose um, the thing that's going to work for you and that will be liberating for you and to move you closer to the goals that
Hmm.
you have in the life that you want to live.
So yeah, to segue that back to Dion, that was exactly what he said, that God chose him for a time like this. And he chose him to go to Jackson State and do the
Hmm.
things he did at Jackson State, and now he's choosing him to go to Colorado to do the things that he feel like he's going to do, whatever that's going to be,
Hmm.
whatever his vision is for Colorado and his vision beyond that. That's what he feels like. So, when I look at people like him, I look at the top tier of people, not just black people, just people in general.
Hmm.
And when I mean top tier people, I mean people that have achieved their goals in every arena that they've ever stepped into because
Hmm.
they go into it with excellence. Kobe Bryant was one of those type of guys.
Hmm.
And in my mind, I strive to be one of those type of guys. Whatever I go into, I try to be the best I can be at it
Hmm.
and do the best I can do at it.
Hmm.
And I see other people that's around me
Hmm.
do that. I've seen you over the years, everything you've gone into, it has been good. Um, and and um, I just I tend to realize that I've been around some great people in my life. They may not be famous and they may not be the Kobe Bryants, the Michael Jordans, the Deion Sanders of the world, but
Hmm.
I've tend to been around some people that have accomplished a lot of great things in life. And that accomplishment,
Hmm.
if you're not a hater, that
Hmm.
accomplishment drives you and motivates you to do something yourself.
Well, and I think that you touched on something very important. For me, um, I have always strived, really put forth the effort to be my best self. My parents, both of them had very humble beginnings, um, but they believed that they needed to take advantage of every opportunity given to them to be able to achieve their goals. And, those goals were, for my mom, she wanted to be a nurse.
Hmm.
And from the time that she was 16, she put forth her energy, her time, and her effort into being the best nurse that she could be. And eventually, she went to Wayne State for undergrad. She got her master's in nursing from U of M in the 50s, when, before civil rights had even happened. She was up there integrating that campus, and the only African American in her nursing class. And so, fighting and battling, racism, and forging a place to be able to acquire the skills needed, to serve her community. And she did. She married my dad. She moved back down south again. They got married in 64. It was not great. There were still colored water fountains and white water fountains.
Yeah.
Um, and when I was born at St. Jude Hospital in Montgomery, Alabama, because it was the only hospital at that time that would service African American patients. When my brothers were born in 68 and 70, she was able to go to Baptist Hospital and have them, because at that time, then they were integrated. Um, but I share that to say, that's the stock that I come from, and that is how I'm raising, my children, is be your best self. Be your best self. Make smart choices and decisions.
Mm-hmm.
um it may not be the popular decision. It may not be, other people may not agree with you. They may not think it's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to do what's best for you. And above all, do the thing that God is leading you to do. So I've always felt like God was directing my steps and the projects and the things that I've, undertaken. And I continue to move, in that vein. So I appreciate, like I said, I appreciate the shout out and the lift up. But, definitely for anybody out there that's listening, to our program, to understand the things that we're talking about. We're doing this for the community
Mm-hmm.
because we want people to feel like, um, there's someone else in the world that understands and that can relate,
Yeah.
and that has been able to successfully, achieve some of the things that they're looking to try and do. And I always tell my kids, my expectation, as I'm sure you tell yours, I want you to go even farther than
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
in making that impact.
Yes. Yes. Well, that's the show today. Tracy, tell the people how to, what you got going on and how to get in contact with you.
So right now, just again, finalizing the ideas for my podcast. Looking to start that up after the first of the year.
Okay.
More about that to come. But if anybody wants to get in touch with me, Trayce B, TRAYCE_B on Instagram, and hit me up. You can email me, TrayceBrooks@gmail.com.
All right. Well, Randy Graham. Again, I am a realtor here in Atlanta, Georgia. If you need any real estate help in Atlanta metro Atlanta area, you give me a call 404-438-7113. Other things that I got going on, we talked about the book, Think Success. I just got finished getting everything together with the publishing company, which will be Amazon.
Okay.
And so hopefully by tomorrow I will know if the book will be out next week or maybe even this Friday. The latest, well, yeah, this Friday, but the latest maybe Monday or Tuesday. And so getting that going. What else we got going on? Still working on Michael's LP. So looking at January the 11th, which is my birthday.
Okay.
On releasing that. That's a tentative date. What else we got going? Got music on Apple Music, Spotify, and any streaming services. You can go listen to Mfalme, Mfalme. That is Swahili for king. You can go listen to that album anywhere, any streaming services that you can listen to it here on YouTube. And if you want to get in contact with me, you can hit me on Instagram, Randy R. Graham, @ Randy R. Graham. You can do Twitter, the Randy R. Graham. I am on Facebook, Randy R. Graham. LinkedIn, I'm everywhere. So so wherever you need to hit me at, you can hit me on there. TikTok, any of those venues. And I gave you the number 404-438-7113. And if you want to email me, it's going to be randy.r.graham@gmail.com.
Yeah, and I'm also on Facebook. I forgot to mention that. Trayce Brooks.
There she go.
On Facebook. I am not on TikTok yet. I need to get on there, but I am not on TikTok yet. But
well, I have I got a couple different things on Instagram. I got Eomi Entertainment, and then I got MRH Investments LLC. That's on there too. The MRH Investments LLC is also our real estate investing, the real estate investing firm that me and Michael are working on, and looking at getting some properties for that. While trying to get him in the game while he's young, so he can take it over when I get too old to do this stuff.
Well, I you
which
are
will be maybe 30, 40 years from now.
You are modeling Black excellence all day, and I'm like, I need to, up my game to keep up.
Hey, you already there. Hey, you helped me. You've helped me get a lot of my stuff together, so you already there. But hey, we thank y'all for joining us. Wealthy Thoughts. We'll see you next week.
Good night, everybody.
Foods and meth labs. The hood life got us half past dead without Steven Seagal's badass. The inner city is like the chicken or the egg. The USA in the guns, then they say niggas been criminals since our born day. Torn away from they mom or dad with gun sprays or correctional facilities that falsely rehabilitate. I say bravo to this reality they create. Whether it's gay or straight, you niggas enslaved to everything they facilitate. Black men emasculated. We ran from our women for vast relations with pale faces for society placement. I know this shit don't make you twerk. Niggas might push stop cause it make your mind work. The NSA might say that I need to be on the watch list, but watch this. I don't give a fuck until Black lives ain't scared to exist.